Welcome, and we're back with more Chaos Head after a long break from this title. I'll put a link in for part 1, and if you guys want to check it out, please do. So I just got done not too long ago recording a session for Steins Gate, and probably after this I'll probably either record Witch's House or start a new project entirely. I don't know. I will finish Witch's House. I just it's just kind of late, and I don't want to get in trouble by waking up my sister by talking too loud. So yeah, it's kind of really late right now. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? Why do I have to go to school? It's such a painful event. Muttering balefully to myself, I keep moving my feet forward all the same. Head down, watching the asphalt's white line. Now, I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this in the first part. This visual novel is not officially released in English. This is a fan translation patch for the visual novel. And it is out. But there's problems with it. Some people have problems. There's suggestions online how to fix it. But I came up with a solution by myself accidentally because I forgot. I explained it in my first video, and it's even in the description. So I'm just going to leave that for later. I may explain it again, but not now. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? I enter Chateau Park. The school is right on the other side. Housewives took their morning walks, and salarymen sat on the benches reading sports newspapers around the park's pond. Even though Shibuya was so crowded and noisy, the park on the outskirts was quiet and perfectly fit the expression, a place for relaxation. I sat down in one of the benches, too. On the way to school, it was a habit of mine to eat breakfast while gazing at the surface of the pond or brimming with serene water. It was a nice time of the year, and the trees were gradually gaining color. Today's menu was some breakfast bread I bought at a convenience store along the way. It would be enough to tide me over until night. I wouldn't normally eat lunch. No one wanted to eat lunch with a creepy otaku like me, and I had no interest in eating lunch by myself while everyone around me merrily ate together. Yeah. I feel ya, dude. I feel ya. I don't like doing certain things by myself. Like go to movies by myself. I'd much rather do it in a group. Or even eat pizza alone. Yeah, I don't like eating pizza alone. Certain activities just feel like more like group activities. So I completely understand the character there. After finishing my cream-filled bread with some Coke, I gazed listlessly up at the sky. Somehow the skies of Shibuya always appear drab. It doesn't matter what season it is. The sky doesn't change. My parents' house was only a few stations down along the river. There's a distinctly different feeling between there and here. That said, I kind of like the dullness of the sky, although I really don't know why. I glanced at my watch to check the time. If I didn't get going soon, I'd be late. I had to avoid that at all costs. As someone who only goes to school 2.5 times a week, I couldn't do anything to make myself stand out. In any case, it was important to just be there, kind of like the air. Safely and peacefully make it through the day without catching the eyes of the teachers or any delinquent types without having anyone to interfere with me. That was the goal of my school life. It's kind of disappointing. I attended Sumai Private Academy. It doesn't have much of a history. Here it was founded about 10 years ago. The building is neat and trim looking, and a lot of TV dramas about teaching are shot here. Shot there, here, everywhere. The uniforms were apparently designed by a famous designer, so quite a few of the girls are airheads who enter the school just because they wanted to wear the uniform. It's ostensibly, I can't pronounce that word, a prep school, but the percent of the people who continue on to college is at the upper middle level. Hilariously enough, They use the blurb, a free creative school atmosphere, as a selling point for new students, regardless of the fact that the school regulations are very strict. Although the rules are in the process of becoming rules only in name. Besides, it isn't entirely off the mark to describe it as a free creative school atmosphere, I guess. After all, someone like me who only comes 2.5 times per week can keep rising to the next grade like anyone else. As might have been expected, when I reached the front of the school, the other students on their way there started getting noisy. But since I'm not so good with crowds, I hunched over as I passed through the school gates. In my heart, I went fervently reciting, "No one talk to me, no one talk to me," over and over. My little sister, who's 1 year younger, goes to this school too, but she lives with my parents. A day when I run into her is a tragic day indeed. Luckily today I managed to get to my classroom without encountering her in one piece. I quickly took my seat as not to meet anyone's eyes. I had the feeling that the group of girls chatting nearby tossed me a look, but it was only for a second, and they went back to their conversation without saying anything. Deep down, they viewed me as a creep, no doubt about it. From my point of view, 3D girls are far more creepy. It's fine by me if they think I'm a creep. If they don't notice I'm here, all the better. If they just do that, then I'll go on living silence without giving them any trouble. I often wonder what's wrong with people who call me creepy. I don't get it. It's almost like they want the attention of the people they're calling creeps. I was in my seat, just hunched over my desk staring at its surface.
Yo, Taku.
That surprised me. Suddenly someone smacked me lightly on the back. It startled me, yeah, and I raised my head.
お前、今日って学校来る日だっけ?
I already do not like this character. Today, a school-going day for you.
Mizumi-kun.
My classmate Mizumi Daisuke-kun was giving me a grin. He was pretty good-looking, and all the girls seemed to like him. He himself openly declared how much he liked women, and for him to say he was dating several people at once, from my perspective, he was a guy who jumped fully into delinquent territory. If possible, I'd prefer not to have any connection to him at all, but...
相変わらず暗い顔してんな。ゲームのやりすぎで寝不足か? 別に。
He was the only person in the entire class who talked to me. I wonder why he always started talking to me. Our hobbies and personalities aren't. Okay, there's a typo here. Aren't even slightly similar. Personalities aren't even slightly similar. Yeah, fan translation, everybody. Anyway, it had been on my mind since we became classmates this year. If hypothetically I were a girl, I would kind of understand, but being a guy, I don't know why you talk to me.
引きこもりだからしゃあねえかもしんねえけどよ。もっとこう、ハキハキ答えろって。
Because he secretly likes you. Something like that. Or hanging out with a guy like you only boosts his status upward. I don't know. Thinking positively and thinking negatively. Or maybe he's just being a nice guy. Who knows? If I could, I'd have done so a long time ago. See, yeah, I have no idea. I've only watched the anime up to a certain point, and then I dropped it. And anyway, I hear the anime's not that great, but the visual novel does the series good. So if you're gonna choose one or the other, play the visual novel, ignore the anime, or do both. You choose. But this isn't like Steins Gate where I say, do all the above. I strongly suggest just doing what I'm doing right now, playing the visual novel, if you can. It's almost painful for me to talk to 3D human beings. Anxiety keeps my voice from coming out properly since I don't normally talk much. I can't articulate myself well through speech, and I shrink back because I'm scared I might say something stupid and be made fun of. I wish people wouldn't talk about stuff like they know nothing about. They have no clue how hard it is for me. Oh, but I'm no hikikomori. Excuse me. A hikikomori is someone who shuts himself up in his room 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I'm different. Yeah, you actually go out and do your own shopping if you can.
女相手に緊張するならともかく、そういう態度されると、俺らホモと思われるじゃね
That's exactly what I mean. Right there. Hold up, he really doesn't like girls, and he's really into guys? In a hurry to put some distance between us, I pulled away. Oh, I almost fell on my chair. Flustered, I had to grab my hands to my desk.
お前三角君はホモなの？なわけねえだろ。お前俺の女好きを忘れたのか？
Liar! I see it in his eyes. Anyway, I don't care if he is or isn't. Whatever floats your boat, dude. That's what I say. Do not care because it's none of my business. It shouldn't be any of your businesses either. But anyway, yeah, it shouldn't matter who you like or what you're into. As long as it's not crazy. I mean, even then, as long as you keep it to yourself, whatever, right? Doesn't matter.
だよね。ビビった。ちなみに
That ain't a creepy smile. I don't know what is.
昨日このクラスの女子で3人もでした。誰だか聞きたいか？いいよ別に。だよ、もっと興味示せよ。田中だぜ。田中。田中って誰？お前もうすぐ10月だった。未だに同じクラスのやつの顔を覚えてねえのか？
See, that's the thing. It depends on what kind of school you go to. If it's like a private high school, then yeah, knowing people's names is rather important. Like, I knew almost everybody in my private high school that I graduated from, because it was a small high school, and it's easier, and you end up being a very tight unit with your class, depending what year you're in, and you pretty much know everybody naturally. But if it's like a public high school, like in America anyway, yeah, before I transferred in to the private high school I went to, memorizing, it's just too difficult. There's too many people, and yeah, I didn't know everybody else's name. But if it's private, then yeah. I guess they go to kind of like a prestige. Well, the main character just explained, a very proper high school. So I guess it would make sense if you know your names. And I guess it's important. See, I don't know. I don't live in Japan. I've watched high school anime and whatnot, but and I've actually done a little study, and I had a Japanese culture class here at ASU. Go Sun Devils. But beyond that, I can't tell you much. So I'm not the one to judge, so I don't know. But yeah, if I don't hang out with you typically, or if I don't find you interesting, then I don't typically go out that far to get to know who you are, unless we're working in a group project. Then I find out your name, because yeah, everyone has to pull their weight. Anyway, not ranting.
ま、3次元に興味ないんじゃ。それも当然か。
Exasperated, he shrugged his shoulders and let out a sigh. However, up until the present, he had never once belittled me for my hobby, that is, the fact that I looked 2D characters. He didn't call me creepy or anything. It wasn't to his taste, so he didn't overstep himself. Looking at the side of him, he didn't seem like such a bad guy. This might have been why I intentionally fell into conversations with him whenever he started talking to me.
これでうちのクラスの可愛い女はほぼ攻略完了だ。そろそろ隣のクラス守備範囲広げようかって思ってんだよ。
Maybe he isn't that good of a guy after all. If the girls overheard this, I think they'd be appalled.
リーグによ、めったに学校来ねえけど、すごくいい女がいるらしいんだよ。なんか、そういう、燃えねえか。
Moed up.
あ、お前の場合は燃えるんじゃなくて、燃えだっけか？
Moed. Wouldn't excuse me. I wish people wouldn't toss around the word moe without knowing what it means.
ま、お前の興味ねえ話はそろそろやめるか。
I'm not going to go into that rant. We just dropped the moe thing. stop talking about stuff we aren't into.
じゃあよ、ニュージェネの話知ってるだろ。
Let's see. Oh, I'm supposed to read. Bleh. I thought he was talking. Honestly, it'd be surprising me to hear those words coming out of his mouth. I had thought he was a person who didn't think about anything other than women. I couldn't picture him watching the news or reading the paper.
集団ダイブの事件さ。あれも噂に
It's
よると
high
殺
school.
人
Of
らし
course,
い
he
ぜ。
would be interested in this kind of thing. I've been in there, and yeah, that kind of stuff always was big news. It's a funny story, too. That's rather personal about me that got spread around my private high school. But that's not important right now. So anyway, yeah, I was kind of the talk of the town for a little while. Yeah, that was fun. Not really. It was funny in some cases, but anyway.
へえ。マジだって書いてあったんだよ、スポ島に。
Maybe I'll talk about it since it's not even important anymore, but yeah, maybe later. So his source was a sports newspaper. Wouldn't that make it completely unreliable? Besides, I already heard the news, not that it was caught my
で、
interest.
聞いて驚け。その殺人鬼が女で、しかもかなり美人だって目
Of
撃
course,
証言があんだよ。女。
As I watched my Sumi-kun tell me this excitedly, the dots finally connected. I saw why Miss Sumi-kun suddenly started reading the sports paper, which he normally wouldn't, had given the time of day. It had to do with the girl. I guess you could call this a natural development. Would he be cool with a murderer, or so long as she was cute? Speaking for myself, I'd be okay with that if she were a 2D character, but... Sumi-kun cast his eyes at the blue sky beyond the window. His face took on a far-off look. Why is he looking like he just achieved enlightenment or
ど
something?
んなやつなんだろうな、犯人。
Still very creepy.
本当に美人なのかな。会ってみて。
Just now, I became certain of the fact that this is a guy who lives solely through the lower half of his body.
俺だけは殺されねえ自信があんだよな。だってほら、俺ってかっこいいだろ。いくら連続殺人鬼でも、俺みたいないい男に会ったら、コロッと惚れちゃうぜ。
Yeah, sure. Keep telling yourself that. That's why you won't get killed? The frivolity of this train of thought whooshed over my head, over my expectation. Whoosh! Or for him, it'd be showing, right? I reeled back from Asumi-kun, who who proved himself to be able to say such a thing breezingly without hesitation. I'm.
興味ないから。でもよ、興味ないっつったって、犯人は絶対この辺うろうろしてんだぞ。どっかですれ違ってたりするかもしんねえし。
Now he's just being mean. He's just teasing him. What if Masumi-kun were the killer? No, I could certainly rule that much out, but I couldn't completely deny the possibility that it was one of the students here. If that were the case, maybe I should say, I have post-traumatic stress disorder to maneuver my way into graduating even with insufficient attendance.
なあ、今日俺と一緒に殺人現場見に行かね。ここから歩いて行けんだってよ。まだ血とか残ってるらしいぞ。
Splat. I had absolutely zero interest in doing so. All I wanted to do was to peacefully, safely take my classes, hurry up and go home, greet my Sierraton, and return to the world where I became a god.
もう小橋と長谷川は見に行ったって言ってたしよ。本当に興味ないんだ。
This. Okay, I clicked on it. I have no idea what I just did. I'm gonna have to look that up. Because I know there's special events stuff. So I squeezed out my voice with the intention of somehow refusing, but he wouldn't listen.
そしたら犯人とばったり会っちゃったりしてな。犯人は犯行現場に戻ってくるってよく言うだろ。
I will look that up in the next part. I will try to explain. I'm pretty sure it's like a special event thing. Like in Steins Gate, they have like the phone conversations in certain timed events, I think. Sorry, so I'll look that up later and I'll explain in a future part.
で、次はタクがターゲットにされるんだ。死をもって罪を償え。みたいな。罪状はそうだな。引きこもってたからってことで。
Yeah, you're a nice guy. Of course, there was no reason for me to want to see blood or anything. That kind of thing is too terrifying. It wasn't a haunted mansion type attraction or a horror film. People were being killed in real life, and the perpetrators still hadn't been caught. I didn't want to go anywhere that might be even a tiny bit dangerous. Even so, I found myself wondering about the new gen criminal's motive. Were the incidents pleasure killings by someone with a couple of screws loose in their his or her head? It might be most fitting to think along those lines. Well, whatever. It had nothing to do with me. By the way, I'm also a mass murderer just by having killed so many. I'm treated like a hero nevertheless inside ESO. That is, lol. Comparison alone is enough to prove that the 2D world is unquestionably better than the real world. While frantically turning down Masumi's invitation, I initially pictured myself throwing one straight punch after another. A murderer, you say? I'd smash that guy I'd smash a guy like that in pieces. 2 pieces the second I met him. By sinking into delusion like that, I'm capable of killing or saving anyone. Someone who tried to enact it in real life would be a pure idiot for not thinking about the consequences. Even the new Gen killer would have to be caught. Even the new Gen killer would have to get caught pretty soon, and after being put in jail for several decades, they get executed. I wanted to tell that killer, haha, if only you stuck to doing it in your imagination and left it at that. Went out to buy dinner. I was on the road to the neighborhood convenience store I usually frequent. It's about 3 minutes from the base of my foot. A familiar scenery, a filthy street. But unlike the other day, today I was attacked by the peculiar sensation that I'd gone lost in a different world altogether. Although the scenery itself had changed, it was as if I were setting foot in a place for the first time. Apparently this is called, Jimmy's View. Oh. Wait. Jimmy's View? Don't you mean Deja Vu? I don't know. Please feel free to tell me what this is, or is it just a mistranslation? Jimmy's View. I've looked into online before. I'm gonna have to look that up myself now. More homework, yay! Also, the rotten stench of the raw garbage was floating in the air. The seeping moisture that clung to my skin was enough to make me mistakenly think that it was raining. The air seemed to pace itself to me. A sound. I faintly heard the sound of something being dragged along. Oh, creepy music. I stopped my feet and listened closely. The sound was coming from the depths of the narrow valley, the bent way, to the left of where I was standing, or it seemed anyway. There was no street lamps, no light from the nearby houses, which was why I couldn't quite tell what lay at the end of the road, even if I strained my eyes. To think of that a place of such deep darkness could be found in modern Japan, not to mention in Shibuya, which is right up there with Shinjuku when it comes to being labeled a city that doesn't sleep. It was kind of like being in a haunted house. No, there was one aspect in which it was differed conclusively from a haunted house. That was the fact that this darkness wasn't man-made. I didn't want to go there. It would be better not to go there. In my heart, I kept warning myself. As if I were being sucked in by the sound continued unbroken, my feet took an inexplainable step forward. I feared that something awful would happen if I kept going. My heart pounded violently, and the greasy sweat poured down my forehead. Oh boy. Someone let forth a lovely noise that reached my ears as a whisper. That someone suddenly grabbed my forearm. It was so abrupt that I fell into a panic and tried to scream, but it wouldn't come out, and it took forever to my string merely to expel the air from my throat. Terror made me want to run away any second now, but my body wouldn't. Listen to me. My feet froze in the spot and wouldn't move a millimeter. The hand of the person gripping my arm, it entered my field of vision. It's a deep green has a thin as mummies with countless veins protruding and didn't look like it was belonged to someone living.
行くのは
Truly won't have been strange for me to fall on my ass right there and lose control of my bladder. Yet her voice was oddly easy on the ears, and my erupting fear steadily came under control. That low, tense voice. I slowly turned around. First thing that flew into my eyes was the Sume Academy emblem. Something that was sewn into the breasts close to my uniforms. I couldn't tell that she was a girl from the fact that she was wearing a skirt. I didn't have the courage to look at the most important part, her face, because she was standing closer than I expected. It took all my effort to avert my eyes. Something was wrong here. Sensing in the corner of my head, I took a second look at my upper arm. The girl's delicate feminine fingers what was gripping my arm, even though all I had seen previously was a green girl hand. Who was this girl? What kind of face did she have? What kind of face was she looking at me with? What was she doing here? Various doubts ran through my mind, but I couldn't bring myself to speak to her, so all I did was hang my head. Without me noticing it, the dragging sound had
もう
vanished,
帰って
as though to replace that, what came from her body. Takumi-kun was the scent of blood.
これはいい
That was sweet. I was sitting in front of the PC monitor. I poured some Coke in my mouth to suppress my exhilaration and stretched wildly in my reclining chair. It was a very real seeming flight of fancy, if I do say so myself. Plus, a high school girl with a mysterious air to her appeared in it. I thought about giving her a name and cultivating her in my imagination. I play around like this a lot. Sometimes I cast a pre-existing character such as Serotan, but I got the sense that this girl was different from Serotan. Whatever the case, what's great about it is that I can do whatever the hell I want in my head. Whether it's set the second or third dimensions, and all that occurs in my delusions goes according to my godly will.
次はちょっとエロ要素も
I muttered without thinking, as if I were back in my base. When I remembered that I was in the net cafe, I covered my mouth. I quickly studied my surroundings. Well, it's not like anyone was listening, as I hated going out. At cafe was my sole amusement spot. It was located at the edge of Shibuya's shopping district, and as such, many of the customers were delinquent 3D girls or bleary salarymen, but all the rooms were meant for individual use, so it wasn't a problem. By the way, the room I was currently in, room 37, had been reserved for my use, and it was placed in the furthest back part of the store. It was inconvenient for going to get juice refills, but because not many people went into the nearby seats, it was relatively quiet. I went on my way to come here once or twice a week. On the way, my nose is itchy. Sorry about that. In order to on my way back from school, in order to log on to ESO with a different ID. In other words, it was like taking a break. Nightheart was a little too well known. I didn't mind that, but having to be a paragon of heroic behavior day after day was pretty stressful. The one I use over here is a female character called Lisolette. However, Lisolette's battle history was pretty terrible. I only used her to make those around her look better in comparison. Today, too, I released my stress by playing for about 3 laid-back hours. Afterward, I chatted with my guild friends for a while, getting worked up over stupid and/or arrow topics. It's close to 9 p.m. and I left the store. Around this time of night, there tends to be an especially large number of juvie types in the shopping district. I got the urge to vomit when I saw them sitting here and there along the road like it belonged to them, or grinning crudely while eating fast food hamburgers. If I made the mistake of meeting their eyes, those imbeciles would soon react by attacking. What savages. Okay, I think I'm gonna end it here for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed Chaos Head, and let me know in the comments or private message or whatever if, any questions or details or any way I can improve. So just let me know, and hopefully I can improve upon those comments or whatever you guys say. So like, subscribe, please, by all means. whatever works. I know I don't get many views, but like to improve upon what I'm already doing and hopefully get better. And maybe once I can actually get a job, I'd actually have income to actually improve my tech. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed Chaos Head. Until next time, sayonara.